Welcome to Being a Successful Leader with Carl Welty. Carl is a leadership pioneer with years of challenging leadership and consulting experience. Here's Carl with some valuable insights, practical and proven methods for being a successful leader.
Greetings, everyone. Carl Welty here, the host, your host for our ongoing series, Being a Successful Leader. The intent of the series is to help you as a leader or aspiring leader to give you valuable insights and practical and proven know-how. This subject of organization, leader, and team effectiveness has been my passion for as long as I can remember, and I've been fortunate to be able to feed the passion through personal experience in leadership and coaching, training, consulting, throughout many, many different endeavors and organizations. And so I've just accumulated a lot of what I think is really good stuff. And the purpose of this series and the books I have behind it are to share that with folks like yourself. The series revolves around three of my leadership imperatives. The first starts with you as a leader, because that's where it all begins. And so my first imperative is being a self-aware and skillful leader. The second of the three is then building a sound strategy. And the third then is creating a culture of commitment to carry out that strategy. So a self-aware and skillful leader, a sound strategy is number two, and number three again is the having a culture of commitment. Each episode runs from 15 minutes to a half hour. And again, the resources, the continuing resources that you have, and kind of makes a nice package, I think, to talk about some of these things and then be able to hear them again, or to look at a printed resource like my books. 3 books, one for each of the three imperatives I just mentioned. And you can find them on my website, welty.com, and click on leadership resources, and then you'll see the 3 books there. There's books, and then there's audio, the 3 books, and where you can purchase them, the publisher or Barnes & Noble or Amazon, and a short description of each. Also, the past episodes are available, audio, and you can get them by going to the host of this podcast, and that's the webtalkradio.net, webtalkradio.net. Go over to channels, hit channels, scroll down to leadership in the workplace, and then scroll down to my icon, being a successful leader, and you find the episodes. This is the 41st, if you will, 41st episode in this series. All right. With that said, today's meeting, our topic is one-on-one meetings, one-on-one meetings. Last episode, we talked about your meetings with your groups. There are all kinds of meetings, aren't there, with your groups? Mainly staff meetings we concentrate on, but the ideas and concepts passed on really pertain to all your meetings, and to have them work better for you, make them more productive and fun, if you will. And we talked about ways to more effectively plan, conduct, and follow up on your meetings. Really good stuff there. Very proud of that. And if you haven't caught that, be sure and after this episode, go back and catch that on, again, webtalkradio.net. So today we turn to one-on-one meetings. One-on-one meetings, that's you and each of your key associates. Very, very key investment, very, very important practice that you want to follow as a leader. If you're not already doing it, to be sure you start doing that, one-on-one meetings. And if you're already doing it, we'll have some good stuff for you to make them here today, make them even more meaningful, productive for you and your associate and associates. A good investment, high returns. Some people in the past, when I've coached them or whatever, they say, well, who has time for that? And I say, excuse me, what better investment could you have as a leader to spend high quality time thinking and interacting with each of your key associates? I mean, that's your team. That's your leadership team, okay? So what better investment of time? Of course, you meet them in staff meetings, and you'll call them in to make an assignment once in a while, see them here and there. But this is dedicated time for each of them. And what we're talking about is maybe an hour or two every week or two and it doesn't have to last that long. Very, very important. Just by having these meetings, you're saying something about that you care for each and one of them, and that speaks volumes. Okay, one-on-one meetings, very, very important. And in these meetings, you'll talk about both strategic and operating opportunities and challenge, long-term stuff and in the moment kinds of things. And also their personal and professional development. Great opportunity for coaching. We talk about performance, great opportunity for coaching. Okay, let's talk about some of the recommended guidelines I have for these one-on-one meetings. Frequency and duration, start there. As I mentioned already, maybe an hour or two every few weeks to get together. You figure that out, what works best for you and your associate or associates. For newer folks on your team, you'll probably want to meet more frequently. You spend a little bit more time when you do get together until they, as I talked about so many times, develop the work maturity that you don't have to be as close to them. Work maturity, again, being the competence and commitment in terms of their task relevant position, projects, and tasks. Another guideline I have for frequency and duration is I like the idea of a rolling calendar rather than schedule a whole bunch of these meetings on the calendar at once. Maybe you agree that every 2 weeks for an hour or so. And so at the end of the previous meeting, you take into account what's on your calendars and vacation time or projects that you need to attend to, whatever. And you then pick the next date. Maybe it's sooner than whatever you decided, 2 weeks, or maybe later than that. So I like the idea of a rolling calendar. Okay, the other thing is treat it as a priority, the date that you set. Don't slough them off. Treat that as one of your most important commitments on your calendar and have them do the same on their calendar. So treat it as a priority and commit to that priority. Okay, a few ideas on frequency and duration. Let's talk about location. Again, tips I have, guidelines I have. Associate's office, like the idea of going to your associate's office if you're co-located, and you're near each other and so forth. It doesn't have to be every time. They can come to maybe your office most of the times, but and that gives you a better idea of what's going on in their neck of the woods in terms of their office and their staff there, and chance to maybe interact with some of their staff. So think of that to alternate the meeting sites. If it's a geographical proximity is an issue, of course, you're going to have to look at other means of communications like telephone, teleconferencing, video conferencing, going out once in a while to their site and visiting them. So those are obstacles that you'll just have to work around and work with. Okay, the next piece I have on the guidelines is agenda. We need to think of these as two-way conversations between you and your associate and associates, and a great opportunity for coaching. It's not to be used to delegate work. We talked about delegation recently in one of our recent episodes. They'll not look forward to coming in all the time. Oh, here's another bunch of work I got to do. So yeah, once in a while it's going to happen, and that's fine, but don't make it a vehicle for delegation. If there's a time to delegate, treat that separately, okay? You want to strive to have these meetings owned more by your associate than you. Owned more by your associate than you. And that's going to take some time and effort and so forth. But if they see if you're really striving to do that and make it a two-way thing, they'll soon get the message. Don't overstructure these one-on-one meetings. Agree on an agenda, maybe at the outset of the meeting, or maybe in a previous meeting. Say, well, let's talk about that in our next one-on-one meeting. But don't overstructure. When I talked about staff meetings and so forth last meeting in the meetings episode, I talked about the idea of having an agenda ahead of time and how to do that, and gave you an idea of a standing agenda, and you of course want to adjust that and fit your needs. But with the one-on-one meetings, you don't want to have a structured agenda. Kind of play it by ear, and what's in real time, what's on our plate here. Here's a good one for you. Another tip in terms of agenda: have each of you set up a file. I suggest just a manila file and throw paper in there, and you can then make notes about your next one-on-one meeting. Be sure to talk to Tom, put it in the Tom file about this or Mary about that. Just little notes you throw in there. And in a few minutes, we'll talk about delegation sheet assignments to keep track of assignments. That little sheet or log should be in there too. But a bunch of notes and maybe a related paper, and then this assignment log, or delegation log. And have your associate do the same thing. It's a great time management technique. Instead of, rushing to the boss's office or you running down the hall with this, if it can wait, have it wait and schedule it for your next one-on-one meeting. Again, great time management. Periodically in your one-on-one meetings, you want to discuss periodically, not that often, but, maybe a few times a year, especially with the new associate, how the relationship is going, your relationship with this associate. And I have this is assuming a satisfactory working relationship. If you're having problems, with one of your associates through your performance coaching, really working on a performance plan, let's say, to bring them up to speed, or, you want to concentrate on that. But assume things are going pretty good, or well, once in a while, maybe a few times a year, talk about the relationship. And here's a little structure for you to do that. It could be a little bit daring for some of you. It all depends on the relationship, and it all depends on your vulnerability. Vulnerability, as I talked in a past episode, is not a bad thing. It kind of has the taste of a bad thing to many leaders. Like you're weak or something. Those leaders who still labor under the myth of being all powerful, all wise, and have to have all the answers. We debunk that. That is not the case. You want to be vulnerable. You want to acknowledge that you don't know it all. There's more to learn. It's also a great gateway, being vulnerable, to courage and opening the gates to try new things and so forth. We don't have all the answers. I don't know. Let's try it, kind of thing. And so when you invite feedback from your associate, you need to, be a little bit vulnerable and take what they mean as a gift, and that maybe there's some good things in there. You don't have to agree. You need to talk about it. You may agree or not agree with the feedback they're giving you, but think of it as constructive feedback from their point of view and treat it more as a gift. And you don't have to oblige everything they say, but certainly treat it with sincerity and appreciation. Okay, here are the two questions that you can both ask each other, and you'll see that these are pretty strong questions. So you're asking your associate these two questions. What would you like me to do more of or start doing? What would you like me to do more of or start doing? And the reverse of that, what would you like me to do less of or stop doing? What would you like me to do less of or stop doing? Very, very, very powerful. And then you talk about each. And then you can do the same, ask the same questions of them. Okay, takes a little risk. You have to have a little courage, and you have to be vulnerable, but well worth it. And I talked many times about the idea of having constructive differences and getting divergent points of view, and to really move things forward, being at your staff meeting, dealing with an issue, or one-on-one meetings. You've got to reach out there a little bit and invite feedback that may be a little bit of a struggle to deal with when you initially hear it, and to really think about it and engage in quality thinking and interacting to move things forward. All right, some powerful stuff for you there. Moving on, in your meetings, your one-on-one meetings, you'll make use of all the leadership behavior options that we have talked about in previous episodes and in my books. And they are directive, collaborative, and delegative. And collaborative being both the consulting mode and the consensus mode. Of course, in consensus, they're just a two in this particular case. But you want to, look at what the issue is and the maturity of your follower relative to the particular issue you're talking about, and then decide on the appropriate leadership behavior option. Okay. And remember, when you get into coaching in your one-on-one meetings, coaching, again, we've covered that in a previous episode, is all about asking and not telling. And also a good chapter in my book about building a culture of commitment is on performance coaching. Check that out if you haven't already done so. Really good on coaching. It's more about asking and not telling. Also, the one-on-one meetings is a great opportunity to work on the position plan, which we talked about again in the building commitment book when we talked about clarity, having clarity of role and responsibilities and authorities, that sort of thing. Position plan is a living, working document. We talked about this, and again, it's in the book. A living, working document to get some shared expectations, shared understanding around the role and set of results for a position and those reporting to it if it's a leadership role. It's a position plan is a vehicle, a living, working document, which you're going to pull out once in a while and make notes on and use it for planning for goals and performance review and other things like that. So very, very valuable. Unlike the traditional job definition and job description, which are worthless. So check that out if you haven't already done so. And I really encourage you to work on that. And the one-on-one meeting is a great vehicle for doing so, especially you have a new person. You don't have to do the whole position plan. It requires some work in one setting, but it's all about starting off with the purpose of the position, the one sentence summary of why this position exists, and then having a set of key result areas. If it's a leadership role position, you want leadership and management as one key result area, and the other 2, 3, 4, whatever, will be technical work, key result areas. So you have a purpose and the key result areas, and for each key result area, you want to then have an objective. What's the ongoing objective for each of these key result areas? And then a set of desired outcomes. How do we know success when we see it? So yeah, it requires a little bit of work, and it's a results focused document, not activity focused document. So check that out if you haven't done so, or if you're not already using it, and use the vehicle of one-on-one meetings as a way to construct it. And again, you can start with just do purpose in one meeting, do key result areas in another, and then take one key result area at a time and develop the performance requirements. So highly recommend it. All right. I want to close with a recommended practice for you in terms of monitoring and modifying assignments. That's also a part of your one-on-one meetings. But this is a structure that kind of a neat way of thinking about it in terms of monitoring and modifying your assignment. So I recommend you keep a delegation worksheet, just a plain piece of paper, or maybe put some lines on it. When the delegation was made, what it is, maybe a time frame, and then maybe a progress column, things of this nature. Something simple, so that in your one-on-one meetings, you would pull out that sheet and maybe discuss some of these past delegations and how's it going. So I use the metaphor of a gremlin inventory. What's a gremlin? I don't know, but call it whatever you want, but a gremlin inventory. And these are some 3 key principles about keeping a gremlin inventory. What you want to do is again, use the folder I talked about, this manila folder in your desk, and make an entry on your delegation or your assignment worksheet about the assignment, when, what, that sort of thing. Number 2, then you need to feed these gremlins. You feed them, again, in your one-on-one meetings is a great way to do that, or you shoot them. Feed them or shoot them, these assignments or gremlins, but don't let them starve to death. Don't let them just fade away. What the boss inspects, the old adage, what the boss inspects, the boss expects. And if you don't pay attention to them, well, I guess it's not important. And I told you a story in one of the previous episodes of the boss of the boss I had at one time. And we would have these meetings, and I was just amazed. Why don't you follow up with what he gave you? He says he never follows up anyway. He doesn't, he forgets about it. And I have other more important things to do. So don't fall into that trap. So shoot him or feed him, or shoot him, but don't let him starve to death. And the last of the 3 I have with the gremlin, keeping it gremlin inventory and managing it, is keep the gremlins in their right cages. What do you mean by that? Well, you're a good person, a great leader and everything. And so your associates will turn to you for some help. And that's good. That's what they're there for. And you're some coaching and so forth. And once in a while, you may take the gremlin and run with it for a while. Well, let me see if what I can do Pete, and I'll get back to you. But let me make a few calls, or let me give us some thought, and so forth. Okay, so Pete has now upward delegated to you this gremlin, with nothing wrong with it. But remember where the gremlin belongs. And so after you made these calls or thought about it and so forth, be sure to redeposit the gremlin back in Pete's cage. Otherwise, Pete gets frustrated. Oh, geez, I haven't heard back. I don't know what to do. I can't move on this. I better forget it for the time being. So beware of that. Okay, in conclusion, giving you some practical and proven recommendations for you to plan and use for more productive one-on-one meetings. A great investment in your time. Use it, and use it judiciously. All right. Next time, preview of next time, we're going to move to stages of organizational growth, very predictable stages of organizational growth. We can track through that. If the organization does indeed grow, and you really want to have it grow, and many times you need to have it grow for success and even to survive. So we'll take a look at these predictable stages and then the strategic implications that go along with each of these stages. So stay tuned for that next time. In the meantime, be sure and think about what we talk about and apply it and benefit accordingly. Meantime, you take care of yourself, and we'll see you next week.